What happens when everyone laughs at the wrong person? My brother said I was only there to carry boxes at his promotion party. Everyone laughed when I nodded. No one noticed I was the only one who had actually read the contract they all signed. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? That moment happened 3 weeks before the party itself, but it planted something in me that grew quietly, like mold behind drywall. You don't see it until the structure starts to fail. I'm Rogon Kerig, 44 years old, operations manager at Vance Associates, minority partner on paper, invisible in practice. For the last 11 years, I've been the person who makes sure things run. Not the person who talks about making things run, not the person who gets applause for it, just the person who does it. My younger brother Calvin is 41, and for the last 6 months, he's been the rising star everyone talks about. Charismatic, loud, the kind of guy who walks into a room and immediately owns it, not because he's earned it, but because he believes he has. People respond to that. They always do. It was a Tuesday morning when I realized how bad things had gotten. I was standing in the open plan office near the back row of desks where they keep the people who don't need windows. My desk had a view of the printer and the emergency exit. Calvin's desk was on the executive floor now, 3 levels up, with floor-to-ceiling glass and a door that actually closed. I was holding a stack of quarterly reports that I'd compiled over the weekend. 43 pages of operational data, trend analysis, vendor comparisons. The kind of work that doesn't get applause but keeps the entire infrastructure from collapsing. Martin Crow walked past me without looking up from his phone. Martin's a senior account manager. He's the kind of person who laughs at every joke the powerful people make, even when they're not funny. Especially when they're not funny. "Morning," I said. He glanced at me, nodded once, kept walking. I wasn't surprised. That's how it had been for months now. I'd gone from being someone people consulted to someone people walked past. It happened so gradually I didn't notice until it was already done. I took the reports upstairs. Not to Calvin's office. I wasn't allowed there anymore without an appointment. I left them with his assistant, a 26-year-old named Leora, who always looked at me like I was interrupting something important. "He's in a meeting," she said. "I know. These are for the Monday briefing." She took the folder without opening it. "I'll make sure he gets it." I nodded and turned to leave. "Oh, Rogan." I stopped. "Calvin wanted me to remind you about the equipment delivery on Thursday. He said you're handling the logistics for that, right?" Logistics. That's what they called it now. Moving things, carrying things. Making sure things arrived on time so other people could take credit for them. "Yeah," I said. "I'll handle it." She smiled. Professional. Distant. "Great. Thanks." I walked back downstairs. At 11:30, I was in the break room getting coffee when I heard voices in the hallway. I recognized them immediately. Calvin's voice carries. It always has. "Honestly, I don't know why we're still keeping him around," Calvin said. "He was talking to someone, but I couldn't see who. He's reliable, sure, but that's it. Good with spreadsheets. Good with boxes. Not much else." Laughter. Male. Probably Martin. "You can't just fire your own brother, man," Martin said. "I'm not saying fire him. I'm saying he's maxed out. He's hit his ceiling. Some people are meant to support. That's Rogan." They walked past the break room. Neither of them looked inside. I stood there with my coffee, watching the steam rise. That afternoon, Harold Vance called a meeting on the executive floor. Harold's the regional director. 53 years old, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of handshake that's designed to remind you who's in charge. He's the kind of leader who believes hierarchy is a virtue. The meeting was in conference room A. I wasn't invited. I found out about it because I saw the calendar invite on the shared system. My name wasn't on the list. Calvin's was. Martin's was. Even Marlene Brooks from HR was included. I kept working. At 4:15, I got an email from Calvin. Subject, quick favor body. "Hey, need you to grab some boxes from storage and bring them to conf room B. We're doing a walkthrough for the new client setup, and I want to show them the physical samples. Shouldn't take long." I read it twice. Then I stood up, walked to the storage area on the second floor, found 6 medium-sized boxes labeled Archive, Client Samples 2019-2023, and carried them down the hallway to conference room B. The room was empty. I set the boxes on the table and left. 20 minutes later, Calvin sent another email. Subject. Quick favor. Body. Thanks. You're a lifesaver. No explanation, no follow-up. I deleted the email and kept working. At 5:40, most people started leaving. I stayed until 6:30, like I always do. Not because anyone asked me to, because that's when the work gets done. I was locking my desk drawer when I heard voices coming from the parking garage stairwell. The door was propped open, probably by the cleaning crew. 2 voices. I didn't recognize them at first. So Calvin's really getting the promotion? Yeah, Harold's announcing it next week. Full executive authority, new contract, the whole thing. What about Rogan? A pause. What about him? I mean, doesn't he technically still own part of the company? On paper, maybe. But that's just legacy stuff from when they started. Calvin's the one running things now. Rogan's, I don't know, non-essential. Laughter, not cruel, just casual, like they were talking about weather. I walked to my car, got in, and sat there for 10 minutes before starting the engine. When I got home, I made dinner. Pasta. Simple. I ate at the kitchen table, alone, staring at the wall. My phone buzzed at 8:30. It was an email. Company-wide. Subject, you're invited. Calvin Kerig Promotion Celebration Body. Join us Friday, March 14th at the Hamilton Event Hall to celebrate Calvin Kerig's promotion to Executive Vice President of Operations. Drinks, dinner, and remarks from leadership. Please RSVP by Monday. I scrolled down to the attachment, a seating chart. My name was listed under a section labeled Event Support and Logistics. Not guests, not colleagues, support. I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling for a long time. That night, I didn't sleep much. But I started thinking clearly for the first time in months. I woke up at 5:40 on Wednesday morning and made coffee in the same kitchen where I'd eaten dinner alone the night before. The apartment was quiet. It's always quiet. I've lived here for 9 years, and in that time, I've never once had a conversation in this space that felt important. I sat at the table with my laptop and opened my work email. 3 new messages. 2 were automated. One was from Marlene Brooks in HR, asking me to confirm my attendance at Calvin's party. I marked it as read and didn't reply. Instead, I opened a folder on my desktop labeled Archive Company Docs 2014 Present. I created this folder years ago, back when I still believed documentation mattered, back when I thought keeping records was the same as being valued. I scrolled through the files, contracts, amendments, meeting notes, emails with timestamps that proved I'd been in rooms where decisions were made, back when people still invited me to those rooms. There was a file dated June 2016. I opened it. Operational Authority Agreement, Addendum C. I read the first page, then the second. I didn't remember signing this. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't think it mattered at the time. Calvin had brought it to me one afternoon, showed something about streamlining decision-making processes, asked me to sign so we could move faster. I signed it. I always signed things Calvin asked me to sign. He was my brother. I trusted him. I kept reading. By page 4, I stopped. There was a clause buried in the middle of the document, written in the kind of language that makes your eyes glaze over if you're not paying attention. I read it 3 times to make sure I understood it correctly. Then I closed the laptop and went to work. The office was already busy when I arrived at 7:30. Most people don't get in until 8:30 or 9, but the early crowd is always the same. The people who want to be seen working, the people who think presence equals productivity. I wasn't one of them. I just liked the quiet. I made coffee in the break room and carried it back to my desk. The open plan office was mostly empty, a few people on phone calls, someone typing loudly near the back. I logged into the system and started working through my task list. Vendor invoices, equipment requests, operational audits, the kind of work that no one notices until it stops getting done. At 9:15, Calvin walked past my desk. He was wearing a navy suit, no tie, expensive watch. He looked like someone who belonged in a corner office. "Morning," he said, without slowing down. "Morning." He kept walking. I watched him disappear into the elevator. At 10, I had a meeting scheduled with a logistics coordinator named Travis. We were supposed to review shipping schedules for the next quarter. He didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes, then sent him an email asking if we needed to reschedule. He replied an hour later. "Sorry, got pulled into something with Calvin. Can we push to next week?" I replied, "Sure." I didn't ask what Calvin needed him for. At noon, I went to the cafe 3 blocks from the office. It's a small place, nothing special. They make decent sandwiches, and the Wi-Fi is reliable. I've been going there 2 or 3 times a week for the last year, usually during lunch when the office feels too crowded. I ordered a turkey sandwich and sat in the back corner with my laptop. I opened the same document I'd looked at that morning. The Operational Authority Agreement. I read it again, slower this time, taking notes in a separate file. The clause I'd noticed earlier was on page 4, section 7, subsection D. It said that any operational decision requiring structural changes to company hierarchy or partner authority had to be approved in writing by all active partners with voting rights. I read the list of active partners. There were 2 names, Calvin Kerig, Rogon Kerig. I sat back and stared at the screen. Calvin's promotion involved restructuring. That much was obvious. If he was being elevated to executive vice president, that meant operational control. Authority over budgets, authority over personnel, authority over me. But according to this document, he couldn't finalize that authority without my written approval. I closed the laptop and ate my sandwich. That afternoon, I went back to the office and worked until 6. No one spoke to me. No one asked me for anything. It was one of the quietest days I'd had in months. At 6:15, I was walking to the parking garage when I passed conference room B. The door was open. Inside, I saw Calvin, Harold Vance, and Martin Crow standing around the table, laughing about something. Harold noticed me and waved. "Rogan, come here for a second." I stopped. Harold was smiling, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "We were just talking about the party," he said. "You're coming, right?" "Yes." "Good. Calvin's really excited. Big night for him." Calvin was leaning against the table, arms crossed, watching me. "We'll need some help with setup," Calvin said. "Nothing crazy. Just making sure everything's in place before guests arrive. You're good at that." Harold laughed. "Rogan's always been good at the details. That's why we keep him around." Martin grinned, but didn't say anything. I nodded. "I'll be there." "Great," Calvin said. "Thanks, man." I left the room and walked to my car. When I got home, I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't make dinner. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and opened the folder again. This time, I went deeper. I found emails from 2017, meeting notes from 2018, contract amendments from 2019. Every time Calvin had asked me to sign something, I'd done it without reading the fine print. Every time he'd said it was just procedural, I'd believed him. But the core document, the one from 2016, was still active. None of the amendments had overridden it. They'd added to it, clarified it, expanded it, but they hadn't removed my authority. I opened a blank document and started writing down names, dates, and clauses. By midnight, I had a timeline. By 2 a.m, I had a plan. I didn't call anyone. I didn't send any emails. I just saved the file, backed it up in 3 separate locations, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 and went to work early again. This time, I wasn't looking for quiet. I was looking for confirmation. Friday came faster than I expected. I woke up at the usual time, made the usual coffee, sat at the usual table. But something had shifted. Not in the apartment. In me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't waiting for permission to exist. I got to the office at 7:30. The building was almost empty. I liked it that way. Fewer people meant fewer performances. No one pretending to care, no one pretending I mattered. I went straight to my desk and logged in. There was an email waiting from Calvin, sent at 11:40 the night before. Subject, party setup. Friday morning body. Hey, need you at the Hamilton by 10 a.m. to help coordinate setup. Chairs, tables, sound check, the usual. Leora will send you the vendor contact list. Shouldn't take more than a couple hours. Thanks. I read it twice, then I opened my calendar and blocked off the morning. At 9:45, I drove to the Hamilton Event Hall. It's a mid-tier venue on the east side of town, the kind of place companies rent when they want to look successful without spending real money. Hardwood floors, exposed brick, a bar that's too small for the space. When I arrived, there were already 2 people inside, a woman in her 30s wearing a staff polo and a man setting up folding chairs near the back wall. The woman looked up when I walked in. "Are you with the Vance party?" "Yeah, I'm Rogon Kerig." She checked her tablet. "Okay, you're listed under logistics. We've got most of the setup done, but we need someone to confirm table arrangements and check the AV system." "Sure." She handed me a printed diagram. "This is the layout Calvin approved. 10 tables, 8 seats each. Head table here, bar here, stage here." I looked at the diagram. It was detailed. Professional. Calvin had clearly spent time on this. "Looks good," I said. "Great. If you can just walk through and make sure everything matches, we'll finish the rest." I spent the next hour moving between tables, confirming chair counts, adjusting centerpieces. It was mindless work, the kind of thing anyone could do, the kind of thing I'd been reduced to. At 11:30, Calvin arrived. He walked in with Harold Vance and 2 other executives I recognized but didn't know by name. They were all dressed like they were going to a board meeting. Calvin saw me near the stage and waved. Rogan, how's it going? Almost done. Good. This place looks great. He walked past me, barely slowing down, and started talking to the venue manager about lighting. I stood there for a moment, holding a stack of folding napkins, watching my brother command a room that I'd spent the morning preparing for him. Harold Vance approached me. He was holding a glass of water, smiling in that practiced way that powerful people do when they're pretending to be approachable. Rogan, he said, thanks for handling all this. I know it's not glamorous work, but someone's got to do it. No problem. Calvin's lucky to have you. Not everyone would be this supportive of their brother's success. I nodded. Harold leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. You know, I've been meaning to talk to you. We're restructuring a few roles in the next quarter. Nothing dramatic. Just some shifts to align with Calvin's new responsibilities. I wanted to give you a heads up. What kind of shifts? Operational redundancies, mostly. We're streamlining decision-making processes. Calvin will have more direct authority, which means we'll need fewer people in the approval chain. He said it casually, like he was talking about office supplies. Am I being reassigned? Not reassigned, adjusted. Your role will stay the same, but some of your oversight functions will transfer to Calvin's team. It's really just a formality. He clapped me on the shoulder. Don't worry, you're not going anywhere. We value what you do. He walked away before I could respond. I set the napkins down and went outside. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars. I stood there for a minute, breathing cold air, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Leora. Calvin wants to know if you can stay through the afternoon to help with final prep. Event starts at 6. Let me know. I didn't reply. Instead, I got in my car and drove back to my apartment. When I got home, I went straight to my home office. It's a small room, barely big enough for a desk and a filing cabinet, but it's mine. The door closes. The walls are quiet. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder I hadn't touched in weeks. Inside were printed copies of every contract, amendment, and operational agreement I'd signed since 2014. I'd kept them all, not because I thought I'd need them, because I didn't trust digital files to stay where I put them. I spread them across the desk and started reading. By 2 p.m, I'd confirmed what I already suspected. The operational authority agreement from 2016 was still binding. Every amendment added layers, but none of them revoked the core structure. Calvin's new role required partner approval. My approval. And I hadn't given it. I picked up my phone and called a number I'd found in the company directory 2 days earlier. It rang 4 times. Elaine Porter. Elaine Porter. External Corporate Legal Counsel. Precise, unemotional. I'd never spoken to her directly, but I'd seen her name on dozens of documents over the years. Ms. Porter, this is Rogon Kerig. I'm a partner at Vance Associates. Yes, Mr. Kerig. What can I do for you? I have a question about a contract. The Operational Authority Agreement from 2016, specifically Section 7, subsection D. There was a pause. Can you be more specific? It says that any structural changes to partner authority require written approval from all active voting partners. I'm listed as an active partner. I haven't signed anything approving Calvin Kerig's promotion. Another pause. Longer this time. Mr. Kerig, are you saying you're formally withholding approval? I'm saying I haven't given it. I see. And you're aware that tonight's event includes a contract acknowledgement ceremony? I am now. Mr. Kerig, if you are planning to dispute this, I'd strongly recommend you attend tonight's event. I'll be there. She hung up. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. For the first time in months, I smiled. Saturday morning, I woke up feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not even satisfaction. Just clarity. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. There were 6 new emails. 3 were automated reminders about next week's schedule. One was from Martin Crow, asking if I could cover a client call on Monday because he had a conflict. One was from Marlene Brooks in HR, a follow-up on something procedural I'd already handled. The last one was from Calvin. Subject, last night body. Hey, weird that you left early yesterday. Everything okay? Let me know if you need anything. Party's tonight. See you there. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the file I'd been building over the last week. A timeline, a list of contracts, a record of every decision, every signature, every moment where I'd been erased or sidelined or asked to carry boxes while other people took credit. I wasn't angry. Anger is reactive. This was something else. At 9, I drove to the cafe near the office. It was busier than usual. Weekend crowd, families, couples. people who didn't spend their Saturdays thinking about organizational hierarchy. I ordered coffee and a bagel, sat in the back corner, and kept working. By noon, I had everything I needed. Copies of the Operational Authority Agreement, printed emails showing Calvin had never formally requested my approval for the restructure, a timeline proving that I'd been systematically excluded from decisions I was contractually required to authorize. I didn't need a lawyer. The language was clear, the facts were documented. I just needed one more thing. At 1:30, I drove to the office. The building was mostly empty on Saturdays, but security let me in with my badge. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and walked to the HR department. Marlene Brooks wasn't there. Her office was dark, but the door to the HR records room was unlocked. I went inside. It took me 20 minutes to find what I was looking for. A file labeled Partner Agreements Active. Inside were copies of every partnership contract currently in effect at Vance Associates. There were 3: Harold Vance, Majority Partner; Calvin Kerig, Junior Partner, pending executive promotion; Rogon Kerig, Minority Partner, Operational Oversight. I took pictures of every page with my phone, put the file back exactly where I'd found it, and left. When I got home, I printed everything and organized it into a single folder. Chronological order, highlighted sections. Clean, professional, undeniable. Then I sat down and waited. At 4:30, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Leora. Reminder: event starts at 6. Calvin asked if you could get there by 5:30 to help with last-minute setup. Let me know. I replied. I'll be there at 6. She didn't respond. At 5:45, I got dressed. Dark suit, white shirt, no tie. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. I picked up the folder from my desk, walked to my car, and drove to the Hamilton Event Hall. The parking lot was already full when I arrived. Expensive cars, luxury sedans, the kind of vehicles people drive when they want everyone to know they've made it. I parked in the back and walked inside. The venue had been transformed since yesterday. String lights, polished tables, a bar that was now fully staffed, music playing softly in the background. It looked professional, expensive, like the kind of event that mattered. There were already 30 or 40 people inside, executives, managers, HR staff, everyone dressed like they were attending something important. I walked through the crowd without stopping. A few people glanced at me. No one said hello. I found a seat near the back, away from the head table, and set the folder on my lap. At 6:15, Harold Vance stepped onto the small stage near the front of the room. He was holding a microphone, smiling like a man who'd never doubted himself. Everyone, if I could have your attention. The room quieted. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is a special occasion. We're here to celebrate someone who embodies everything we value at Vance Associates. Vision, leadership, results. Applause. Polite, enthusiastic. Calvin Kerig has been with us for over a decade, and in that time, he's proven himself to be one of the most capable leaders I've ever worked with. Tonight, we're formalizing his promotion to Executive Vice President of Operations. More applause. Louder this time. Calvin stood up from the head table, waving, smiling. He looked like someone who'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. Harold continued. As part of this promotion, Calvin will assume full operational authority, effective immediately. This includes oversight of all departmental budgets, personnel decisions, and strategic planning. I didn't move. Harold raised his glass. To Calvin Kerig, congratulations. The room erupted in applause. Calvin walked onto the stage, shook Harold's hand, and took the microphone. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, everyone. This means a lot. I couldn't have done this without the support of this incredible team. He paused, scanning the room. And I want to give a special thanks to my brother, Rogon, who's been here since day one. Rogon, where are you? I raised my hand slightly. Calvin pointed at me. There he is. Rogan's the guy who makes sure everything runs smoothly behind the scenes. Not the glamorous work, but essential. Thanks, man. A few people clapped, not many. Calvin turned back to the microphone. Anyway, I'm excited for what's next. Let's have a great night. He stepped off the stage. The room returned to conversation and music. I stood up, picked up my folder, and walked toward the front. Harold saw me first. He was standing near the bar, talking to 2 executives I didn't recognize. Rogon, he said, smiling. Oh, glad you made it. I need to talk to you. His smile faltered slightly. Now? Yes. He excused himself from the conversation and led me to a quieter corner near the entrance. What's going on? I handed him the folder. What's this? The Operational Authority Agreement. Section 7, subsection D. It says any structural change to partner authority requires written approval from all active voting partners. Harold opened the folder and skimmed the first page. Rogon, we've been through this. The restructure is procedural. It doesn't affect your role. It affects operational control. That requires my signature. He looked at me, his expression hardening. You're seriously doing this right now? I'm following the contract. Rogon, this is Calvin's night. Don't make this difficult. I'm not making anything difficult. I'm pointing out that the contract wasn't followed. Harold's jaw tightened. We'll discuss this on Monday. No, we'll discuss this now. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Elaine, I need you here, now. He hung up and walked away without another word. I stayed where I was. 10 minutes later, Elaine Porter arrived. Elaine Porter walked through the entrance like someone who'd been interrupted during something more important. She was wearing a gray suit, no jewelry, and carried a leather briefcase that looked older than most of the people in the room. She saw Harold first, then me. Mr. Vance, she said. Mr. Kerig. Harold gestured toward the hallway leading to the back offices. Let's talk in private. We followed him into a small conference room the venue used for event coordination. It was plain. White walls, a single table, 4 chairs. The door closed behind us with a soft click. Harold sat down heavily. Elaine remained standing, setting her briefcase on the table and opening it with precise movements. Mr. Kerig, she said, looking at me directly. Harold called me because he believes there's a contractual concern. Can you clarify? I handed her the folder I'd been carrying. She took it, opened it, and started reading. Her face didn't change. She didn't react. She just read, slowly, flipping through each page. After 3 minutes, she looked up. This is the Operational Authority Agreement from 2016. It's still active. Harold leaned forward. Elaine, we've amended this document multiple times. Yes, but none of the amendments nullify Section 7, subsection D. It's still binding. Harold's expression darkened. What does that mean? Elaine closed the folder and set it on the table. It means that any decision involving structural changes to partner authority requires written approval from all active voting partners. Rogon Kerig is listed as an active voting partner. If he hasn't approved Calvin Kerig's promotion, then the restructure cannot proceed as planned. Harold stared at her. You're telling me this now? I'm telling you this because Mr. Kerig brought it to my attention. If you'd consulted me before tonight, I would have flagged it. We consulted you. You reviewed the promotion documents. I reviewed the operational transition paperwork. I wasn't asked to verify partner approval compliance. Harold turned to me. Rogon, what do you want? I want the contract followed. That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. Elaine looked at me. Mr. Kerig, are you formally withholding approval for Calvin's promotion? I haven't given approval. That's not the same as withholding it. Legally it is? I didn't respond. Harold stood up. This is insane. Rogon, you've been a partner for over a decade. You've never objected to anything before. I've never been asked before. Because it didn't matter. It mattered. You just didn't think I'd notice. His face flushed. You're doing this out of spite. I'm doing this because the contract requires it. Elaine raised a hand. Mr. Vance, I need to speak with you privately. Harold looked at her, then at me. Fine. Rogon, wait outside. I left the room and stood in the hallway. Through the door, I could hear muffled voices. Harold's was louder. Elaine's was measured, calm. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. After 5 minutes, the door opened. Elaine stepped out first. Mr. Kerig, Harold would like to proceed with tonight's event as planned. However, we'll need to meet on Monday to resolve the approval process. No? She blinked. Excuse me? If Calvin's promotion requires my approval, then it needs to be resolved now, not Monday. Harold appeared behind her. Rogon, you're being unreasonable. I'm being precise. You're ruining your brother's night. I'm following the contract you wrote. Elaine looked at Harold. He's right. If the approval process isn't resolved tonight, then any public acknowledgement of Calvin's authority could create legal complications. Harold's hands clenched. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you either obtain Rogon's approval or postpone the announcement. We're not postponing. Then you need his signature. Harold turned to me. Fine. What do you want, Rogon? A title change? A raise? More responsibility? Name it. I want you to admit that you've been treating me like I don't matter. The hallway went silent. Harold stared at me. What? You heard me. I want you to admit publicly that you've spent the last year erasing me from decisions I helped build. I want you to admit that Calvin's promotion only works because I've been too quiet to stop it. I want you to admit that you thought I'd just nod and carry boxes forever." Harold's jaw worked. "I'm not doing that." "Then I'm not signing." Elaine stepped between us. "Mr. Kerig, if you withhold approval, Calvin's promotion will be suspended pending review. That could take weeks, possibly months." "I know." "It will disrupt company operations." "I know." "It will damage relationships." "I know." She looked at me carefully. "You're certain about this?" "Yes." She closed her briefcase. "Then I'll inform Calvin." Harold grabbed her arm. "Elaine, wait." She pulled away gently but firmly. "Mr. Vance, this is a legal matter now. I have to follow protocol." She walked back toward the main hall. Harold turned to me. His face was red. His voice was low. "You're making a mistake, Rogan." "Maybe. This will cost you. Probably. You'll regret this." "I doubt it." He walked past me, shoulder brushing mine, and disappeared into the crowd. I stood there for a moment, alone in the hallway, listening to the music and laughter from the other room. Then I followed him back inside. When I walked back into the main hall, the room had changed. Not physically, but the energy was different, tighter. People were talking in clusters, glancing toward the stage, checking their phones. I saw Elaine Porter near the front, speaking quietly with Calvin. His expression was confused at first. Then it shifted, hardened. He looked up and saw me. Our eyes met across the room. He said something to Elaine, then started walking toward me, fast, purposeful. People moved out of his way without being asked. "Rogan," he said when he reached me, "what the hell are you doing?" "Following the contract." Don't give me that. Elaine just told me you're blocking my promotion." "I'm not blocking anything. I'm asking for the approval process to be followed." "You've never cared about approval processes before." "You've never asked me to approve anything before." His face flushed. "This is my night, Rogan. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone." "I'm not embarrassing you. You're embarrassing yourself." He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the anger in his eyes. "What do you want? Money? A better title? Just tell me." "I want you to stop pretending I don't exist." He blinked. "What?" "You heard me. For the last year, you've treated me like furniture, like I'm just part of the building. You've taken credit for my work, excluded me from meetings, and made jokes about me carrying boxes. And tonight, you thanked me for doing the work no one else wanted to do, like that's all I'm good for." Calvin shook his head. "Rogan, you're overreacting." "Am I? When's the last time you asked my opinion on anything that mattered? When's the last time you introduced me as your partner instead of your brother?" "You're my brother. That's more important than a title." "Then why don't you treat me like it?" He didn't answer. Behind him, Harold appeared, followed by Martin Crow and two other executives I recognized from earlier. "Rogan," Harold said. His voice was calm now, controlled, dangerous. "Let's talk about this rationally." "I am being rational." "You're disrupting a company event. I'm exercising my contractual rights." "Your contractual rights are a technicality." "Technicalities matter when they're convenient for you." Harold's expression didn't change. "Like if you proceed with this, there will be consequences." "I'm aware. You'll be isolated, reassigned, possibly removed entirely. You'd need my approval for that too." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" Elaine stepped forward. She'd been standing a few feet away, listening. "Mr. Vance, he's correct. Removing an active partner requires majority vote from all voting partners. If Rogan objects, the motion fails." Harold turned to her. "That can't be right." "It's in the original partnership agreement, Section 12. Then we'll amend it." "You'd need his approval to amend it." Harold's face went pale. I watched the realization spread across the room. Not everyone understood the details, but they understood the shift, the change in power, the fact that for the first time in years, I wasn't the one being dismissed. Calvin looked at Harold. "What does this mean?" Harold didn't answer immediately. He was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "It means," Elaine said quietly, "that without Rogan's cooperation, the company's operational structure cannot be changed." Calvin turned to me. "Rogan, please, don't do this." "Why not?" "Because I'm your brother." "Exactly." He stared at me, searching for something, anger, fear, regret. I'm not sure what he found. "I didn't mean to make you feel invisible," he said finally. "Yes, you did." "I didn't." "Calvin, you told people I was only here to carry boxes. You said it in front of Harold, in front of Martin. You said I'd hit my ceiling, that I was maxed out, that some people are meant to support. His jaw tightened. I was frustrated. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything. The music had stopped. The room was silent now. Everyone was watching. Harold raised his hands. All right, let's take a breath. Rogan, you've made your point. You want respect. You want acknowledgement. Fine. We can work that out. But not here. Not now. Why not now? Because this is unprofessional. So is spending a year pretending I don't matter. Rogan. I read the contract, Harold. I read every page, every clause, every amendment, and I did something none of you did. I paid attention. Marlene Brooks appeared near the edge of the group. She'd been standing with the HR staff, watching. Now she stepped forward, tablet in hand. Mr. Vance, she said, if there's a compliance issue, we need to address it formally. Harold turned to her. Not now, Marlene. If Mr. Kerig's approval is required and wasn't obtained, then we need to pause the announcement and file a procedural review. I said not now. Sir, this is protocol. Harold's composure finally cracked. I don't care about protocol. This is a party, not a board meeting. It became a board meeting when contractual authority was invoked, Elaine said. Harold looked at her, then at me, then at Calvin. Fine, he said. We'll deal with this Monday. No, I said. What? I said no. If you're announcing Calvin's promotion tonight, I want it corrected tonight. Corrected how? Publicly. Harold's eyes widened. You're insane. I'm patient. I've been patient for a year. But tonight, either you acknowledge what you did, or I walk out of here and you explain to everyone why Calvin's promotion isn't happening. The room was completely silent now. Calvin looked at Harold. Harold looked at Elaine. Elaine looked at me. Mr. Kerig, she said, are you formally demanding a public acknowledgement? Yes. And if it's not provided? Then I withhold approval. Permanently. Harold's hands clenched into fists. You'd destroy the company over this. I'd hold the company to its own rules. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he walked onto the stage and picked up the microphone. The microphone crackled softly as Harold adjusted it. The room was still silent. No one was drinking, no one was talking, everyone was watching. Harold cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to make a brief announcement. His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath. As some of you may know, company restructures require formal approval processes. This is standard procedure. However, it's come to my attention that one of those processes was not completed prior to tonight's event. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Harold glanced at me, then continued. Calvin Kerig's promotion to Executive Vice President requires written approval from all active voting partners. That approval was not obtained from Rogon Kerig, who remains an active partner with voting authority. The murmurs grew louder. As a result, we will be postponing the formal announcement of Calvin's promotion until the approval process is properly completed. Calvin stood up from the head table. Harold, this is a legal matter, Calvin. We have no choice. Martin Crow, who'd been standing near the bar, raised his voice. So what does that mean? Is he still being promoted or not? Harold hesitated. Elaine stepped onto the stage beside him. She didn't take the microphone, but her voice carried. It means the promotion is contingent on partner approval. Without that approval, Calvin's authority cannot be formally transferred. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. So Rogan has veto power? Elaine nodded. In this specific case, yes. The room erupted. People were talking over each other. Some were angry, some were confused. A few were looking at me like I just set the building on fire. Harold raised his hand. Everyone, please. We'll resolve this internally. For now, let's continue the evening as planned. Continue? Someone shouted. You just canceled the promotion. We didn't cancel it. We postponed it. That's the same thing. Harold's face was red now. It's a procedural issue. It will be resolved. When? Monday. And if Rogan says no? Harold didn't answer. Elaine did. Then the promotion doesn't proceed. The room fell silent again. Calvin was still standing at the head table, staring at me. His expression had shifted from anger to something else. Disbelief, betrayal. Rogan, he said. His voice was quieter now. Why are you doing this? Because you stopped seeing me. That's not true. Yes, it is. You stopped inviting me to meetings. You stopped asking my opinion. You started making jokes about me in front of people who don't even know my name. You reduced me to logistics, to boxes, to support. I didn't mean it like that. It doesn't matter how you meant it. It's what you did. He shook his head. This isn't you, Rogan. You're not vindictive. You're right, I'm not. But I'm also not invisible. Martin stepped forward. Rogan, man, this is crazy. You're blowing up your brother's career over hurt feelings. I'm enforcing a contract. You're being petty. Maybe, but I'm also being right. Harold stepped off the stage and walked toward me. His expression was cold now. The pretense of civility was gone. Rogan, you've made your point. You have power. You matter. Congratulations. Now sign the approval and let's move on. No. What do you want? I want Calvin to admit what he did. Harold glanced at Calvin, then back at me. He already apologized. He didn't apologize. He said he didn't mean it. That's not the same thing. Calvin approached slowly. He looked exhausted. Rogan, what do you want me to say? I want you to say that you were wrong, that you treated me like I didn't matter, that you took credit for my work and excluded me from decisions I helped build. I want you to admit that the only reason you're standing here tonight is because I was too quiet to stop you. He stared at me. You want me to humiliate myself? No, I want you to be honest. The room was still watching, waiting. Calvin's jaw worked. Fine, you're right. I treated you badly. I took you for granted. I made you feel small because it made me feel big. Is that what you want to hear? Yes? Well, congratulations, you got it. Now what? I looked at him for a long moment. Now I go home. I turned and walked toward the exit. Behind me, Calvin's voice followed. Rogon, wait. I didn't stop. Rogon! I reached the door and pushed it open. The cold air hit my face. The parking lot was dark and quiet. I heard footsteps behind me. Rogon, please? I turned. Calvin was standing in the doorway, silhouetted by the light from inside. He looked smaller than I remembered. Don't leave like this, he said. Why not? Because you are my brother. Then start treating me like one. I will, I promise. Just sign the approval, please. I shook my head. Not tonight. When? When you mean it. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see Calvin still standing in the doorway, watching me leave. I didn't look back. Monday morning came quietly. I woke up at the usual time, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. There were 14 emails waiting. Most of them were from people I barely knew, asking what happened Friday night. A few were from HR, requesting meetings. One was from Marlene Brooks, marked urgent. I deleted them all without reading past the subject lines. At 7:30, I got dressed and drove to the office. The parking garage was already half full when I arrived. I took the elevator to the third floor and walked through the open plan office toward my desk. People stared. No one said hello. No one pretended not to notice. They just watched me walk past, their expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. I sat down, logged into my computer, and started working. At 8:15, Leora appeared at my desk, Calvin's assistant. She looked uncomfortable. Rogan, Calvin wants to see you. Tell him I'm busy. He said it's important. So is this. She hesitated. He's upstairs. He asked me to bring you up. I looked at her. Did he ask, or did he tell you to get me? She didn't answer. I'll be up when I'm done here. She left without another word. At 9, Harold Vance called my desk phone directly. Rogan, my office, now. He hung up before I could respond. I saved my work, stood up, and took the elevator to the executive floor. Harold's office was at the end of the hallway. Corner view, glass walls, expensive furniture, the kind of space designed to remind you who's in charge. When I walked in, Harold was sitting behind his desk. Elaine Porter was sitting across from him. Marlene Brooks was standing near the window. Close the door, Harold said. I closed it. Sit down. I sat. Harold leaned back in his chair. Let's talk about Friday night. What about it? You humiliated Calvin in front of the entire company. I enforced a contract. You embarrassed him. He embarrassed himself. Harold's jaw tightened. Rogan, I've known you for 11 years. You've never acted like this before. You've never given me a reason to. Elaine opened a folder on her lap. Mr. Kerig, I've reviewed the partnership agreement in detail. Your interpretation is correct. Calvin's promotion requires your written approval. Harold looked at her. So what are we doing here? We're here to obtain that approval. I didn't say anything. Marlene stepped forward. Rogan, from an HR perspective, this situation is creating a hostile work environment. For who? For Calvin. For the executive team. For everyone who attended Friday's event. I didn't create hostility. I pointed out that a contract wasn't followed. The effect is the same. No, it's not. Harold leaned forward. Rogan, here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign the approval. Calvin's promotion will proceed, and we'll all move on like adults. And if I don't? His expression hardened. Then we'll find another way to restructure. You can't. Not without my approval. We'll amend the agreement. You need my approval for that too. Then we'll dissolve the partnership entirely. You'd need my approval for that as well. Harold's hands clenched. You've really thought this through. I've had time. Elaine closed her folder. Mr. Vance, I need to be clear. Rogan's position is legally sound. If he withholds approval, there's no pathway forward without his cooperation. Harold turned to her. Then make one. I can't. The contract is binding. Contracts can be challenged. Not when they are this clearly written. Harold stood up and walked to the window. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the city below. Rogan, he said without turning around. What do you want? I want to be treated like a partner. You are a partner. Then act like it. He turned. I've always respected you. No, you haven't. You've tolerated me. There's a difference. Marlene spoke up. Rogan, if we formalize your role, would you approve the promotion? Formalize how? Title adjustment, increased responsibilities, a seat in executive meetings. I already have those things on paper. It didn't stop you from ignoring me. Harold walked back to his desk. Then what do you want? I stood up. I want you to stop pretending this company runs without me. I want Calvin to stop acting like I'm just here to carry his boxes. I want meetings where my name isn't left off the invite list. I want credit for the work I do. And I want you to admit that you built this promotion on the assumption I'd be too polite to say no. The room went silent. Harold stared at me. And if we do all that, you'll sign? No. His eyes widened. What? I said no. Rogan, I'm not signing anything today. Or this week. Maybe not this month. You can have your meetings. You can restructure your plans. You can apologize, but you don't get my approval until I decide you've earned it. Harold's face turned red. You're out of line. I'm exactly where the contract puts me. You're abusing your authority. I'm using my authority. You just don't like it because I'm using it against you. He slammed his hand on the desk. You're finished here, Rogan. I'll make sure of it. Elaine stood up. Mr. Vance, I'd advise against threatening him. I'm not threatening. I'm stating fact. You're creating liability. He glared at her. Whose side are you on? I'm on the side of the contract, which is why I'm advising you to stop talking. Harold's chest heaved. He looked at me like he wanted to throw me through the window. Get out, he said. I left the office and took the elevator back downstairs. When I reached my desk, there was a note taped to my monitor. It was from Calvin. We need to talk. Please. I crumpled it and threw it away. The rest of the week passed in a kind of slow-motion collapse. Tuesday, Harold called a company-wide meeting. He didn't mention me by name, but everyone knew. He talked about procedural delays and internal reviews and temporary adjustments. People asked questions. He didn't answer most of them. Calvin didn't attend. Wednesday, I was moved to a different desk. Same floor, different section, farther from the windows. No explanation. Just an email from facilities saying my workspace had been reassigned for operational efficiency. I didn't argue. I packed my things and moved. Thursday, Martin Crow stopped by my new desk. He leaned against the partition, arms crossed, trying to look casual. Hey man, can we talk? About what? About what happened Friday. What about it? He glanced around, making sure no one was listening. Look, I get it. You felt disrespected. Calvin can be intense. But don't you think you're taking this too far? No. Rogan, you're hurting people. Calvin's career is on hold. Harold's scrambling to fix the structure. The whole company's talking about it. Good. He blinked. Good. They should be talking about it. Maybe they'll realize that contracts matter. Contracts are just paperwork, man. Then why did everyone sign them? He didn't have an answer for that. Friday afternoon, Marlene Brooks scheduled another meeting. This time, it was just the two of us. HR office, neutral ground. She closed the door and sat across from me. Rogan, I want to be direct. You're within your legal rights. Elaine confirmed that. But you're creating problems that go beyond legality. Like what? Morale, team cohesion, trust. Trust goes both ways, Marlene. I understand that. But what you're doing isn't solving anything. It's just making everyone uncomfortable. I'm not here to make people comfortable. Then what are you here for? To do my job. Your job includes working with your colleagues. My colleagues spent a year pretending I wasn't here. Now I'm the problem? She sighed. Rogon, I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to help them. There's a difference. She folded her hands. What would it take for you to approve Calvin's promotion? I don't know yet. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. She studied me for a moment. You know this can't go on forever. I know. Then what's your end game? I stood up. I'll let you know when I figure it out. I left before she could respond. That night, I got a text from Calvin. Can we meet? Just you and me. No lawyers, no HR, just brothers. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the cafe near the office. He responded immediately. I'll be there. Saturday morning, I woke up early. I made coffee, got dressed, and drove to the cafe. Calvin was already there when I arrived. He was sitting in the back corner, the same spot where I usually sat when I worked alone. He looked tired, older than I remembered. I sat down across from him. Thanks for coming, he said. I didn't respond. He rubbed his face. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how I treated you. And you were right. I waited. I took you for granted, he continued. I made assumptions. I thought because you never complained, everything was fine. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. You didn't want to realize it? He nodded slowly. Yeah, you're probably right about that too. We sat in silence for a moment. Rogon, I'm sorry. Really. I know I said it before, but I mean it now. What changed? I spent the last week watching the company fall apart because of something I did, because I didn't think, because I didn't pay attention, and I realized that the person I hurt the most was the one person who's always had my back. I looked at him. You think apologizing fixes this? No, but I'm hoping it's a start. A start toward what? Toward being brothers again. I shook my head. We've always been brothers, Calvin. That was never the problem. Then what is? You stopped treating me like one. He leaned back in his chair. So what do we do now? I don't know. Will you sign the approval? Eventually. When? When I'm ready. He looked at me, searching for something, understanding, forgiveness. I wasn't sure what he found. I can live with that, he said finally. We sat there for another 10 minutes, not saying much, just two brothers in a cafe, trying to figure out how we'd gotten so far apart. When I left, Calvin stayed behind. I drove home, made lunch, and spent the afternoon organizing files in my home office. That evening, I got an email from Elaine Porter. Subject, partnership review, scheduled for March 20th. Body. Mr. Kerig, per company protocol, we're scheduling a formal partnership review meeting to address the approval process for Calvin Kerig's promotion. All active partners are required to attend. Please confirm your availability. I replied. I'll be there. She responded within minutes. Thank you. I closed my laptop and sat back in my chair. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. Not because I'd won, not because Calvin had apologized, because I'd finally stopped being invisible. March 20th arrived faster than I expected. I woke up at 5:30, made coffee, and reviewed the documents I'd prepared over the last 2 weeks. Notes, timelines, highlighted clauses, everything I needed to make my case. At 8:30, I drove to the office. The parking garage was quieter than usual. Fewer cars, less noise, like the building itself was holding its breath. I took the elevator to the executive floor. The partnership review was scheduled for 9 o'clock in the main boardroom. I'd never been in that room before. It was reserved for senior leadership, high-stakes decisions, the kind of meetings that determined careers. When I walked in, the others were already seated. Harold Vance at the head of the table, Elaine Porter to his right, Marlene Brooks to his left. Calvin sat across from Harold, looking pale. Martin Crow was there too, sitting near the back, probably because Harold wanted witnesses. I took the empty seat at the far end of the table. Harold cleared his throat. Let's begin. We're here to resolve the approval process for Calvin Kerig's promotion. Elaine, can you walk us through the procedural requirements? Elaine opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. The Operational Authority Agreement requires written approval from all active voting partners for any structural change to executive authority. There are currently 2 active voting partners, Calvin Kerig and Rogon Kerig. Since the promotion directly affects Calvin's authority, his approval is inherent. Rogon's approval is required to proceed. Harold nodded. And if Rogon withholds approval? Then the promotion cannot proceed as structured. Can we restructure in a way that bypasses this requirement? Not without amending the partnership agreement, which also requires Rogon's approval. Harold's jaw tightened. He turned to me. Rogon, we've been doing this for 3 weeks now. It's time to make a decision. I agree. He blinked. You do? Yes. Then you'll sign the approval? On one condition? His expression darkened. What condition? I pulled a document from my folder and slid it across the table. I'll approve Calvin's promotion if the company agrees to formalize operational oversight. Specifically, I want veto authority on any decision involving structural changes to partner roles, budget allocations over $50,000, and personnel decisions affecting senior management. Harold picked up the document and read it. His face turned red. This is insane. You're asking for control over the entire company. No, I'm asking for the authority I already have on paper. I'm just making it explicit. Calvin leaned forward. Rogan, that's not what we agreed to. We didn't agree to anything. You apologized. I appreciated it. But this isn't about feelings. It's about structure. Elaine took the document from Harold and reviewed it. After a moment, she looked up. Mr. Kerig, this language is consistent with your existing authority under the partnership agreement. You're essentially asking for clarification, not expansion. Harold stared at her. Are you serious? Yes. Everything he's requesting is already implied by the current agreement. He's just making it explicit. Then why do we need to sign anything? Because explicit language prevents future disputes? Harold stood up. No, absolutely not. I'm not signing away control of this company. You're not signing away control. You're acknowledging the control structure that already exists. This is extortion. This is contract law. Harold turned to Calvin. Say something. Calvin looked at me. Rogan, do you really need this? Yes. Why? Because I'm tired of being optional. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned to Harold. Sign it. Harold's eyes widened. What? Sign it. He's right. We've been ignoring him. We've been treating him like he doesn't matter, but he does matter. And if this is what it takes to fix that, then we sign it. Calvin. Sign it, Harold. The room went silent. Harold looked at Elaine. Is there any legal reason we shouldn't? No. The language is fair. It protects both parties. He looked at Marlene. HR perspective? It clarifies reporting structure. It's actually better for compliance. He looked at Martin. What do you think? Martin shifted uncomfortably. I think Rogan's been patient. Maybe we should listen. Harold sat down slowly. He stared at the document for a long time. Then he picked up a pen. Fine. He signed. Calvin signed next. Then Elaine, as witness. Harold slid the document back across the table to me. Happy now? I looked at the signatures, then at Calvin, then at Harold. Yes. Harold stood up. Then we're done here. Calvin's promotion is approved. Rogan retains oversight authority. Everyone gets what they want. Not everyone, I said. He stopped. What? I pulled out another document. This one was smaller, a single page. I'm also requesting a formal acknowledgement of my contributions to the operational infrastructure built between 2014 and 2025, specifically credit for the vendor management system, the budget allocation framework, and the personnel review process. Harold's face turned red again. You've got to be joking. I'm not. We're not rewriting history, Rogan. I'm not rewriting anything. I'm correcting the record. Elaine took the document and reviewed it. Mr. Vance, this is a reasonable request. It's a matter of internal documentation, not public acknowledgement. It's petty. It's accurate. Harold grabbed the document, signed it without reading it, and threw the pen on the table. Anything else? No. Then we're done. He walked out of the room without another word. Marlene followed him. Martin hesitated, then left as well. Elaine gathered her papers. Mr. Kerig, I'll file these documents with corporate records. You'll receive copies by end of day. Thank you. She left. It was just me and Calvin now. He sat there staring at the table. You really did it. Yeah. I didn't think you would. I know. He looked up at me. Are we okay? I thought about it. We're getting there. He nodded. That's fair. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he stood up and walked to the door. He stopped and looked back. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For what? For not letting me forget who you are. He left. I stayed in the boardroom for a few more minutes, alone. Then I gathered my papers, walked out, and took the elevator back downstairs. When I reached my desk, there was a new email waiting. Subject, congratulations. Body Rogan, your operational oversight has been formalized. Please see attached updated org chart. Welcome back to the table. Harold. I opened the attachment. My name was listed directly under Harold's. Same level as Calvin, equal authority. I closed the email and went back to work. That night, I drove home, made dinner, and sat at my kitchen table. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Calvin. "Drinks tomorrow? My treat." I smiled. "Sure." I set the phone down and looked around my quiet apartment. For the first time in years, it didn't feel empty. It felt like mine.